All right, the game from Team 4545 League, and I have no idea. I know the final position. They agreed to a draw. Let's see how they got there. So this isn't very aggressive by black. The best move against knight f3 is to play d5, and I'll leave it at that. One thing e6 does, it does tend to hem this bishop in. This bishop could be fianchettoed, though, and be an effective piece. It could also, black can play d5 and place it on d7 later. So this is called the King's Indian attack. If white's playing, in effect, playing a defense he would against white's, or white's playing a defense black would play if white's playing d4. But since white is white and using a black setup, it's the King's Indian attack. I didn't name these, but the game looks very even. Now, I wouldn't have put the bishop here. It's not doing anything here. The long diagonal is better, but the game is still even. Now this softens up this square, so I wouldn't have necessarily played that. When I use this system, and I have used it a lot with C3, you keep control of D4 and B4. And the C3 is the anchor of white's position. The queen can just sit on C2 and everything's nice and snugly. But the move is totally playable. Now black, maybe black had a mouse slip, I don't know. But he's lost a tempo. It shouldn't matter. But here's a situation. This move doesn't help white's game. We want to take care of these guys first. If we want to do this as our plan, that's fine, but let's hold it, because we don't know what black's going to do over the next several moves. We may want to do something entirely different from A3. Now you're committed to it. And this doesn't help black's position. What could black do here? Well, here's a pawn break. Let's try it now, see what happens. Now, if white, just to point out, if white takes twice, he's leaving himself with a bad pawn. Okay? So white has to be careful here. White stopped from playing this because of a fork. Okay? White might be stopped from playing this, because that bishop starts getting harassed. Suddenly black controls a little more space than white. Although, this is still pretty much even. I'm giving you some ideas. But this doesn't help black's game. Okay? It's just like if he played the king in the corner, it wouldn't help black's game. Okay, so for those on my YouTube channel, I already have a playlist of games from Team 4545 League. You're going to learn a lot if you watch all of them. You're going to learn a lot of openings. You're going to learn a lot of strategies, mistakes, how to avoid them. There's a wealth of material out there. Okay. So here, now the idea here is to try to get the bishop pair, and then try to get down to an inning where you can use the two bishops superior to a bishop and knight. That's an advanced concept, but again, black is not addressing the placement of some of these pieces. Okay, but the game is essentially even. Now black is challenging the center. He hasn't done what I was thinking he could do, but the game still looks about even. Okay, what if black, well, let's see. Yeah, I guess he had to do that. I mean, the alternatives come back here and the knight's out of play for a while. Okay. But just hesitating for a second. Black started with 45 minutes. He now has more time than he started. If you take the ideal time, you'll have about 22, 23 minutes left when you hit move 20. So, black is banking time that he's never going to use. Now, for what it's worth, black does have a protected pass pawn, but B6 could be a weakness. The game is still even, and they're not challenging each other much. But we know from the final position at some point, white won a piece for 3 pawns, all these pawns are going to vanish. Okay, and then let's see. I think this one vanishes because this was up on, or no, I think it went up to d4 and the e5 pawn, e pawn was gone. Okay, discovered attack. Queen has to move. Now, the natural move to me would be, try to double. That's my first impression. But, black has the 2 bishops. Black's doing okay. Now, you have the 2 bishops. Why'd you get rid of them? That's my feeling. Let's back this up. What could we do different? We could go attack the knight. Okay. We could put this rook on the d file. That attacks the knight. Or maybe we think we want this one here because we want to keep the rook on f8. I mean, just things to consider. When you're sitting there at your move, you're trying to find a move. Each one of those gains a tempo. They place an attack. So, why trade when you don't have to? But he could have an ulterior motive. Black could be playing e5 and he wants to settle white with a bad bishop. Okay, now he plays there. And right now it looks like both sides are happy just to trade pieces. Now here I wouldn't have gone there. I would have tried to control the file, but maybe white's going to end up controlling it. So white's doing okay here. He had but it wasn't really a mate threat. The queen can come back. Oh, brother, I'm getting some stupid pop-up.
Check.
Okay, check.
Check.
And here's where he gives up. Here's where you hear all those dings. I don't know why I'm getting so many pop-ups. Okay. Here's where he gave up the piece for the pawns. So white's kind of stuck to allow this. So how can we avoid this? Well, I could put the queen back here. Now white's going to drop this pawn though. For now, I would say white is winning this. The bishop and the queen can halt these pawns, but white has to be careful. I don't know how he lost his pawn. Now, one thing to think about is try to get this queen in the center. Make this a target square. Can we get there? Well, it's going to take 2 moves. Unfortunately, I don't see a square white can move to safely where he can get to d4. So let's see. Another idea would be play bishop f1. Let's try to activate this bishop and maybe get a battery with the queen and the bishop so we can bring the queen back, and the bishop will hold these 2 pawns at bay, keep this pawn on e4 safe, and white should be okay.
Check.
We'll go with that. Now that happens, but it's pinned. And see, here's where he dropped the pawn. So this attacks the queen, and the pawn is still protected. And this pins the bishop, but here's my idea. And black can't advance his pawns, and we've got him blockaded. Then we'll figure out a way to maybe find a way to get our king in the game, or make this bishop a little better. Okay.
Check. Check.
Now the queen queens come off. Now here's, like I say, here's where I think white's winning. So one important move would be f4 at some point to keep the king out of here. We don't have to do it just yet, but black may play something like g5. And of course, that could leave this hanging at some point when the king flees, but then these pawns could get dangerous. There's a lot to think about. Okay, so I wouldn't, well, let's see. Let's let the pawns advance, okay? Let's get this king centralized. Now, we've got the pawn stopped. Okay, but we have our king closer. Now, king up. Wait, it's white's play. So let's hold this move back. Let's get the king in. Check.
Check.
And then we're going to win this pawn, and white wins. So you're holding this pawn back, but you're neglecting getting the king in the game. Now black might very well play g5 here. He doesn't. But with the bishop not on this square, we're not keeping him out of f5. Now we're stopping f5. So now I wouldn't have come here with the king, but I guess you want to take here this square from. Okay, this makes sense. The goal is we want to make this black king have to move, and then we win this pawn. And now white's playing waiting moves, and this is where they agree to a draw. Okay, well, black may have some resources here, nice, but he's got to be careful. Like, this is probably a blunder, because now black is out of pawn moves, and any move he makes drops a pawn, either the d pawn or the b pawn, right? But however, black does have this move, and well, let's see where this goes.
Check.
Now we do have potential trouble here, you know. But let's go after that pawn. I don't know. I think black's losing this. You know, we just run this. You know, white's going to have a queen, and it's going to have a field day. So black had some resources. I don't know who offered the draw, but that's not important. White's certainly not losing. But, you know, if black delays things, you know, he runs out of pawn moves. Let's try this. Just remember what I said earlier. I was saying that if he gets rid of all those pawns, it's a draw. He's closer here. None of this is forced. Check.
Check.
Now it looks like a draw here. See? So, but I say you have the piece, make black prove it's a draw. Because I showed two variations. There's more. I showed one where white won, and I showed one where black drew. But we didn't find one where black won. So, you know, it's a very, very interesting position. My gut instinct is white wins, but it could be a little different. Okay, so let's see. I want to welcome Apricot, Bill Vinca. That's my dad. Hi, Dad. Commander Root, Electric. Guys got some interesting names. They're so long I can't read them. JB Weinberg, or JBH Weinberg. Sarah's still here, thanks. And Skinny Seahorse. Okay, so a special shout out to my father, who's going to live to be over 100. He's 87, and he looks 27. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can wrap this up in any way, shape, or form. So white missed his chance when he dropped that e-pawn. So it wasn't a good sack by black. So I still keep getting pop-up notices. Go away. All right. All right, so let's see. So the critical, white missed his winning chances here. He unprotected this pawn, and he missed a fork. So I guess we can ask ourselves, how long did white take on that move? Well, he took, his clock went down a minute, and, he almost took enough time. So, you take your time, I don't complain. We help you find the right move. Okay, let's go on to another game. Stop recording.